We're going to build a new document and at the same time save a reusable preset. So under File, New Document, I'm going to start by turning off facing pages. For my early lessons, I find it simpler to navigate with facing pages off, so you don't have to scroll over and to the left when you go from page 1 to page 2. In a facing page layout, you would have 1, and then 2 would be over and to the left, and 3 would be directly below 1, kind of like a book reads. So for now, we'll start with them off. I rarely use primary text frame because often I'm placing text in InDesign through File Place, and when you place text, InDesign builds a text frame for you automatically. In fact, if you select an image, InDesign builds an image frame to the exact size of that photo or drawing when it's placed. So coming from a previous page layout program, many people got in the habit of building boxes before they place stuff. With InDesign, you never have to do that unless you're doing a template and you know for a fact you want this picture frame to be exactly 3 inches by 2 inches. You could predefine that, but it's a lot faster to not have to build a box before bringing in content. Here we have default page sizes, and I'm going to leave it on letter, but they have a few other preset sizes saved here for you. You could set the number of pages in the new document dialog, and you could choose what page number to start on. If you wanted to start on an odd page, for example, that's a common workflow. And I skipped intent. Intent actually has a new option. We've had print and web for a while, and in fact, when you choose web, it gives you common web dimensions that you might be publishing documents to. InDesign can actually build Flash content and can export to HTML5 for either the web or for digital publishing. And with digital publishing, check this out. I have a default iPad size, and it switches my unit of measure to pixels. The iPad screen dimension is 1024 by 768. Or I could choose iPhone, and it will go to the original iPhone size, or a Kindle Fire or a Barnes & Noble Nook, and the zoom. But I'm going to go back to print, and I'm going to choose 1-inch margins. I'll leave the columns at 1, and if you wanted to switch between portrait and landscape, 11 by 8.5 or 8.5 by 11, you could click the little guy portrait or the little guy sideways. We'll leave it 1 column, and when I highlight the value in margin or double-click in the middle of the number, I don't like to see people working hard, and clicking here and pressing delete or backspace is working hard. So a safer way to do that is to just double-click on the number or in the middle of the number or drag, and I'll type 1. And I love that this lock is here. With the lock there, I could simply hit Tab on my keyboard once. Tab always jumps to the next field in every computer program. So you'll see the blue highlight as I hit Tab moving from field to field. Tab is also an excellent way to accept the value without actually clicking OK. And I need to remember to leave facing pages off for this. Since I was showing the different layouts and different page sizes, it came back on. As soon as you turn facing pages off, or as soon as you change the margins, the document preset changes from the default or out-of-the-box settings to custom settings, which I want. In More Options, I'm going to turn on 2 very important guides for print or prepress. Actually, the most important is bleed. Bleed, if you look at the cover of a book that has a photograph or a solid fill across the cover, when that's printed on a printing press, the paper may move left and right or up and down. And if the paper moves and you designed exactly to the 8.5 by 11 edge, you might get a white gap somewhere. And print shops will charge you to add bleed if you forget to put it in your InDesign file. So regardless of whether my document goes print on demand or digital, or I'm making some online content, I always put in 0.125, an eighth of an inch. I typed 0.125 and hit Tab, and it did it on all 4 sides. This doesn't add bleed to the document, but it adds a red guide for the bleed that will show me if an object touches the page edge to extend it to that red guide to make sure we've allowed for bleed on the printing press. And this may not make a lot of sense to you if you're brand new and didn't come from the printing and publishing industry, but trust me, your print shop will thank you for doing this, and you may save yourself money by adding these guides. Even if my job is printed digitally, pulling the photo or the fill color outside the page edge will not harm the digital print job, because most inkjet printers or laser printers can't print to the edge anyway, so it will just omit the extra information. It's safer to design for the printing press than to take something designed for digital and make it press ready. You could always go down in quality, you could always remove the bleed, but if it isn't added in the beginning, it may be a lot more work to make it up at the end of the job when you decide to move from digital to actual plate making, because maybe your job runs from 5,000 copies to 20,000 copies, and it's cheaper to run on a printing press. And the last guide is really something I love to use. In the bottom only, I'm going to put 1 inch. This slug area is a term that comes from the advertising world. Slug means job-specific notes. And here's the example I like to give. Let's say I'm doing an ad for Microsoft. And for Microsoft, it's going to be running in Forbes magazine. And the title of the ad is Merger. Me as the ad creator can put a signature line that's outside the page area, outside the bleed area, that gets printed on the contract proof, the color proof that Microsoft is agreeing to pay for the ad on. And this slug information can travel with the job, but it doesn't affect page size or trim size or bleed size. In fact, I use the slug area when somebody emails me a note about a design that I'm doing. I copy and paste that text from the email directly into the slug area in my InDesign page. So if I have a question about it, my notes are right there in the InDesign document and there for other people to work on as well and see as well. I don't have to go hunt down an email or call the person or follow up with them. My notes are always with the job. So this is the default document that I'll use for a lot of my work throughout this Learn by Video series. And I'm going to hit Save Preset and call this Letter 1 inch. If I click OK, I can click here and see that that's available for me. And when I click OK again, here is my letter 1 inch page. If I zoom out twice, down at the bottom, this light cyan guide is the slug, your free space for job-specific notes that can be printed or not printed, included in the PDF or not included in the PDF. And it doesn't affect the bleed, this 1/8 of an inch red guide. The black line is the physical edge of my paper. So on a digital device, everything would be chopped at the edge or commonly a little bit inside the edge. Many digital devices can't print to the exact edge of the paper. They have a hardware margin that they can't get past here. And finally, my guides are pink at the top and the bottom. If I do View, Fit, Page, and Window, you could see that. These are pink, indicating those are my 1 inch margins. And since I have one column, the purple column guides are on the left and the right, and these purple guides are sitting exactly on the pink margin guides. So there's really pink all the way around, and then purple on top of the pink on the left and right to indicate there's one column. When you do a 2-column layout, you'll see purple in the middle as well to give you column guides. But this is my tour of making a new document, and you'll notice if I choose File, New Document again, it remembers my last preset, so every time I choose a new document, it's going to pick the last preset that I used. This is great. In fact, I use this in the newspaper industry to build common ad sizes. They might have a 1/4 page ad, a 1/2 page ad, a full page ad, and the IT department can load that on everybody's machine so they don't have to remember the width and height of each ad. They just choose from a built-in preset. So the more presets you make, the more common, quickly accessible document sizes with columns, margins, and bleed guides you can get to. So your homework is to go out and build this letter 1 inch in InDesign and start designing away.